Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Welcome to our session here. We're really excited to be with you tonight. My name is Ben Jones. I'm Oberlin class of 96. I currently serve as the college's Vice President for Communications. But most importantly, that kid on the wall over there who is 5 years old in that picture will actually be a member of the class of 2025 starting in the fall. So I mostly tonight am here in my role as a new Oberlin parent, a first-time Oberlin parent, and I'm super excited about that. Before I introduce President Ambar, which is my great honor, I would also like to let you all know that in the background here, we have 5 esteemed colleagues from the Office of Admissions who are going to be helping us field questions tonight. They are Manuel Carballo, who is our Vice President and Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid, our Director of Admissions, Tom Abeda, our Associate Director of Admissions, Leslie Bratt, our Associate Director of Admissions, Josh Levy, and our Senior Assistant Director of Admissions, Sophie Metler-Grove. So they will all be in the background pushing questions our way. Some of them they will answer through the actual window if they're easy to answer. The rest of them they'll send to me to ask President Ambar after her presentation. But now on to our honored guest. It's my privilege to introduce President Carmen Twillie Ambar. Here's a quick, brief history on President Ambar. She earned her law degree from Columbia Law School, her master's in public affairs from Princeton University, and her BS in foreign service from Georgetown University. She has worked as an attorney in the New York City Law Department, served as Assistant Dean of Graduate Education at the Woodrow Wilson School of Public and International Affairs at Princeton, and as Dean of Douglas College at Rutgers University. Most recently, President Ambar served for 9 years as the president of Cedar Crest College. In 2017, President Ambar was named Oberlin's 15th president and Oberlin's first African-American leader. But class of 2025, what you really need to know is that President Ambar does not hide in her office. President Ambar is out and about all the time, all across campus, and will play a role in your student experience if you choose Oberlin. In addition to her responsibilities as president, which were very significant before the pandemic hit, and let me tell you, even more significant after that, she still managed to find time to attend classes, go to concerts. She even conducted the orchestra. She attends athletics events. She works out alongside our students in our Health and Wellness Center, and even hosts a fitness class called the Presidential Boot Camp, which is very popular. She has created a space in the president's residence where student orgs can host their events because she didn't want her home to be this sort of place where no one went. And so she's invited students into her home on a regular basis. So I could go on and on and on, but basically what you need to know is that President Ambar is awesome and will be part of your experience if you come here. And before I forget the most important part, she is the mom of triplets. Just when you thought her schedule was already full enough. So with that, thank you, President Ambar, for being with us tonight. And it's my pleasure to turn this over to you, and I will be back to ask questions later.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ben. So that is true that if you join Oberlin, you will see me around campus. And it's an important part of my time at Oberlin, getting engaged with you. But first of all, let me tell you, I am completely excited that you are on this Zoom webinar with me and that we have a chance to talk about Oberlin and for you to hear about Oberlin from my perspective. So here's the plan. I believe that by the end of this session that you will believe as I believe that Oberlin is the best institution in the country. And so I'm going to spend my time helping you see that from my perspective. So I'll probably spend about 20, 25 minutes talking. And then as Ben said, we'll open it up for questions. So here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to talk a little bit about Oberlin and weave in my personal story a bit and tell you why I chose Oberlin. Because I think we're similarly situated, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll talk about why I think Oberlin is the best institution in the country and what qualities I think it exhibits that makes me feel confident when I say that. We'll talk a little bit about what will be different next year or the things you can expect in terms of new programs and new initiatives. And then we'll talk about the last thing, which is my view of the divine order of things. So I believe that for some reason, we are here on this Zoom webinar together. Right now, at what time is it? It is 7:06 Eastern Standard Time. And for some reason, the divine order of things dictated that we would be here. And I believe that's something about what you are supposed to do in the world and the role that Oberlin plays in it. So that's what we're going to do for the next 20 or 25 minutes. And then the floor will be open for questions, and I'll do the best I can to answer them. So here's one of the things that's interesting about being a college president. So I'll give you a little bit of a window into how you get selected to be a college president. So there's an application process, just like the process that you just went through. Typically you get a chance to talk to various folks who are connected with the institution. But in this new world of selecting college presidents, it's pretty secretive. And in fact, so secretive that you sometimes don't even get a chance to come to campus in the way that some of you may have experienced. And so they kind of flew me in under cover of night, as I say, to Cleveland, and I got a chance to talk to all sorts of folks about Oberlin. And then ultimately, they selected me to be the president of Oberlin. I have to say that that phone call is one of the best phone calls you'll ever get. And hopefully for you, the letter you got or the email that you got, or the text you got was just like my phone call was for me. One of the best moments ever when someone said, "You're admitted to Oberlin." And then you have this moment that is the moment that you're in right now, which is that moment where you decide, is Oberlin the right fit for me? And I don't know what's harder, being selected president of Oberlin or being admitted to Oberlin. But maybe we'll just agree that it's hard, no matter which one is harder. And you have that special moment where you get a chance to decide whether we are the right fit for you. And so what I thought I would do is to give you a sense of how I chose Oberlin, and maybe that can help you know why you should choose Oberlin. So the first reason I chose Oberlin is because of its rigor. So let me tell you what I mean by rigor, because sometimes people can think that rigor is the same thing as difficult. And I would say that they're really not, right? So Oberlin is a rigorous place, both academically and musically. And what I mean by rigor is that we're the type of place that helps students take complexity and break it down into its component parts, and then put it back together in ways that are larger than the sum of its individual parts. So let me give you another way to think about that. So we provide you, in the way that we deliver the academic and musical experience here, with different furniture of the mind with which to analyze complexity. So I don't know if you've ever been into someone's home where you walk into a room that's been decorated and you just go, wow, this looks fantastic, right? And you can see that it's not matchy-matchy, that the person has selected each piece and they're kind of eclectic, but somehow they come together to be just that well-appointed, wonderful room. That's what different furniture of the mind is with which to analyze complexity. And that's what happens here at Oberlin. And I would offer up to you that rigor serves you throughout your life. If you're able to apply rigor to challenging complexity, that it will serve you throughout your entire life. And one of the reasons why I chose Oberlin is because we believe in rigor. And just to be really blunt with you about it, we don't apologize for that here at Oberlin. So that's the first reason I chose Oberlin, because we're a rigorous place. The second reason I chose Oberlin, and I would put this in a kind of a 2A and B framework, is because we are this liberal arts college, this wonderful, highly ranked liberal arts college with this world-class conservatory. And there really is no other institution in the world that has a liberal arts college of the caliber of Oberlin and this world-class conservatory all on the same campus together. So here's the liberal arts college piece that I think is important. So we believe in engaged liberal arts. And what I mean by that is that we believe that it's liberal arts and the doing of the work that makes the difference for the student experience here. So let me give you an example. Early on in my tenure, we had an organization that students created called El Centro Volunteer Group. They decided that they wanted to have an impact on people's ability to be citizens of this country. And so they wanted to work with a local nonprofit to develop a curriculum to prepare the patrons of that nonprofit for the citizenship exam. So these students created a whole curriculum. They set out sort of volunteer hours for students. The students were regular in their commitment to go out to El Centro. They created opportunities for childcare. And a couple of years ago, they had helped about 80 to 90 people pass the citizenship exam. Those students were in political science and sociology. One of the founders was a Truman Scholar. That is taking your academic coursework and go out and do it in the world. And that's what we mean by engaged liberal arts. And that shows up for us in so many ways, whether it's undergraduate research or study abroad. It shows up in some of the relatively new things that you'll experience when you get on campus. So we have a set of new integrated concentrations. There's a series of coursework along with a dedicated internship in business and global public health and journalism. You'll see it in the career communities that we've developed, all of these opportunities to be engaged in careers and internships that focus on issues that impact the world today. You'll see that in things like our Sustained Dialogue program. So this is an opportunity for us to talk with people who have different viewpoints that we do, and to listen with the purpose of understanding, not with the purpose of changing their mind. And sometimes people can think about a place like Oberlin as not particularly diverse in our opinions, but that would be the wrong impression if you think that. And so we really want to help our students be able to go out and live in this world with people of diverse perspectives and be able to talk and engage with each other and to understand each other and appreciate perspectives, even if we have radically different viewpoints. So you'll see that in those types of courses and opportunities. You'll see it in our Connect Cleveland program, where we connect students to our local community. You'll see it in our new Sustainable Infrastructure Project. That's our commitment to climate change, our goal of being carbon neutral by 2025. So you'll see all of those liberal arts pieces in action, because we believe that you know by doing. And so that's one of the reasons why I chose Oberlin. The sort of 2B of that is about the conservatory. So the conservatory is more than an asset. It's its own division that brings world-class musicians and prepares students for that professional space. But the opportunity for the cross-pollination between the conservatory and the arts and sciences is one of the things that really makes Oberlin distinctive. And it kind of creates this eclectic student body. It's the computer scientist who's an obelist. It's the dance major who's a football player. And it brings together these interesting elements that make this kind of just a special place. And so one of the things that you'll see that's new is that we now have the opportunity for students in arts and sciences to minor in the conservatory. Of course, the conservatory students can minor and double degree in arts and sciences. You'll see new integrated concentrations like arts and leadership and management. And you'll see new minors like music and cognition, music and pop culture, interdisciplinary performance, arts and technologies. So those are all the things that I think bring the conservatory and arts and sciences together, and was the sort of second big reason that I chose Oberlin. So the third reason I chose Oberlin is because of our commitment to helping students be able to afford this institution. So I know the parents now are sort of elbowing each other. We know that we're not the cheapest place in the world. We're not the most expensive, we're not the cheapest. And we meet full need because we are committed to helping parents and families be able to not only afford this institution, but also for this institution to reflect the world, because that commitment allows us to have a more diverse student body. And so we want you to spend some time with our financial aid office and work on that piece of it if you have concerns there, because that really is one of the reasons why I chose Oberlin, because of our commitment to meeting full need and our commitment to having a diverse student body, because we want this campus to reflect the world. So that's the third reason I chose Oberlin. So the fourth reason I chose Oberlin is because of our faculty and staff. So Ben told you where I went to school, the institutions that I've had a chance to lead. It doesn't really matter, only to let you know that when I say that Oberlin is the best institution in the country, and when I say that our faculty and staff are the best, then I want you to know who I'm comparing it to. So here's the thing you should know. our faculty and staff will be as dedicated to your dream for yourself as you are. And it's reflected, I think, in how they engage with students, office hours and dinners and concerts and all of those things that Ben said about what I try to do. It's really me trying to match up with how our faculty and staff engage with students. But the thing I think that's most important about that is that I can guarantee you not very many things, but I can guarantee you this. There will be some wonderful, incredible things that happen to you when you come to Oberlin. But such is life. There will be challenging things that happen because that's life. Here's what you want when the challenging thing happens. You want someone who knows your name. You want someone who's dedicated to your vision for yourself. So they can come alongside you and say, hey, we can do this. It's gonna be okay. It's challenging right now, but we can find our way through this and still get to where you wanna be. And that's one of the reasons why I chose Oberlin, because of that type of faculty and staff. So the final reason I chose Oberlin, the fifth reason why I chose Oberlin, and maybe the most important reason. So I hope you'll give me a few more minutes to kind of spin this out for you because it takes a little time. So I chose Oberlin because of our commitment to social engagement, because of our commitment to social justice. It got reflected in really profound ways through this year of COVID. We are a community of care. We've been open this entire year with our students on campus, in classes, and doing all the wonderful things that you know happens on a college campus. And we were able to do that with a positivity rate of less than 1%. And I believe that it's in part because of the strategies that we put in place as a leadership team and as a faculty and staff. But it was also because we have a community of care and our students were adherent to all of the ways that we needed to respond to the public health requirements so we could be on campus. So much so that the city council president said to me that the city of Oberlin and the citizens of the city of Oberlin were more adherent to mask wearing because they saw how our students behaved. And that's what happened in the COVID year. But on a personal note around social engagement and social justice, let me just tell you a little bit about me personally so you can know why this is the reason that I chose Oberlin. So I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas. I was born and raised in Arkansas. I have incredible parents, just flat out wonderful parents. My mom is 80 and my dad's 85. So you cannot tell my mom that I told her age. We have to keep that to ourselves. So my mom grew up in this really small town called Searcy, Arkansas. She, little Black girl, you can subtract so you know kind of what era she grew up in and you know what was happening in the world at the time. And somehow she got her mind wrapped around getting a PhD in dance, which I always say was sort of divine intervention because there's no way that she knew or saw anyone that had done that, but something dropped in her mind that she would do that. She went back and got her PhD when she was married and had 3 children. And she had to live away from home about 6 hours away to do that. And we jokingly say you can always tell when mom's away because she was away because you can look at the school pictures and see that my hair was a little askew. So you can always know when she was gone. But my dad's support of her doing that and her decision to go and do that when she was married and had 3 children taught me that a life of the mind could exist and family life could exist in the same human being. So that's my mom. On my dad's side of the family, there's not much education. There's some education on my mom's side, but there's not much on my dad's side. My dad grew up in this small town called Colt, Arkansas. It's about 30 minutes from Memphis, Tennessee. And he grew up in this area that was, while it was called Colt, people referred to it as Dark Corner in this pejorative way that people referred to African-American enclaves during that time. And he grew up picking cotton all of his formative years. Just as an aside, my dad's a twin, my grandmother's a twin, so that's how I ended up with triplets. because I just wanted to be efficient. But my dad would say that he would be out in the hot, beating sun, think of the deep South, and he would be picking cotton, and he would say to himself that, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I don't want to do this. And it was only because he had an opportunity to go to college that he could change not only his trajectory, but his family's trajectory. So I'm about 5 generations removed from slavery, but I have the opportunity to be president of Oberlin because institutions like Oberlin send graduates out into the world that change it for good. We send graduates out into the world to change it for good. So here's the thing. For some reason, the divine order of things has decided that you and I would be on this Zoom webinar together at this very moment. And I believe that's because you are destined to go out and make the world be different, and that Oberlin has a role to play in you doing that. And I chose Oberlin because that's what our mission is. And I believe that we're here together tonight so that you can know that that's what you're destined to do and that Oberlin is a part of it. So I chose Oberlin because of those reasons. And I believe it's the best institution in the country because I get a chance to meet Obies, which is what we call graduates of Oberlin, all over the world, watching them do the very thing that you are destined to do, which is to go out and change the world for good. So if for some reason, at the end of tonight, that you don't believe as I believe, that Oberlin is the best institution in the country, but maybe more importantly, that Oberlin is the best institution in the country for you. If you don't believe that, then I would submit that you just didn't get enough information. That something happened. I don't know. You didn't ask the right questions. We didn't connect you to the right people. I don't know what happened, but you just didn't get enough information. And so I would offer up that all you need to do is connect with us again, come visit if you can, talk to your admissions counselors, get with faculty, talk to students, because I absolutely know that you are destined to do something special and that Oberlin is a part of it. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Ben Jones and get ready for your questions.
Yay. Bring on the questions, my friend.
Bring on the questions.
President Ambar, let me start with a question that I love to ask you while our colleagues compile the questions that are coming in.
Okay.
I've often heard you say when you speak that you believe with all of your heart that the world needs more Oberlin graduates. What is it about our alumni and what they go out in the world and do that makes you feel that way? What is unique about the special sauce of Oberlin?
Yeah, so it's almost hard to put into words because you have to come and see it for yourself. But I think I kind of hit on it. I think that Oberlin graduates, first of all, are thinking about the world a little bit differently. So they're not thinking about it from the standpoint of what they can take from it. They're thinking about the world from the standpoint of what they can give to it, right? And but they do it with a sense of humility and a sense of not knowing it all, but just knowing that part of what they think about is how can I give to the world in a different way. And I think our culture is built on that around our coursework and all the things that we put together for students. So that's one of the things that I think is different about Obies. I also think that Oberlin graduates, no matter what type of industry they move in, they also think about equity in a different way. And so, you hear Obies talk a lot about what does equity look like in the world and what role they play in creating an equitable society, right? And so Obies come at their work, both their professional work and their volunteer work. And this applies not just to arts and sciences students, but to conservatory students as well, right? So, you think the Sonny Rollins Jazz Group, who goes out and does community service in the context of their musical work. So it's those two pieces that come together that I think make Obies really special. And I think the other part of it is that when you hear Obies talk about what happens to them when they come to Oberlin, they talk as much about their experience with their faculty as they do with their colleagues. And so the learning at Oberlin doesn't just happen in the classroom, it spills out into Wilder Bowl in the way that Obies engage with each other. And so one of the things I say to families when they ask me why I believe Oberlin is the best institution in the country, is I say, yeah, because if you don't come to Oberlin, you can't get access to Oberlin alumni. Like you can't get access to Oberlin alumni at whatever other institution. And when you think about how our alumni impact our students and providing internships and opportunities for them to get engaged, it is that commitment to this thing that we know is how do we make the world be better and different and do work for good that makes Oberlin the place that you should come, and also makes me know that the world needs more Oberlin graduates. Because I will just say as a last parting comment on this, that when I look at the world, I think to myself, we probably could change a couple of things and that'd be good, right? And when I think about what Oberlin graduates go out and do in the world, I see them working on the very issues that I know can change the world in these substantive ways. And that's why the world needs more Oberlin graduates.
Thank you, President Ambar. We have a lot of questions, as you might imagine, about the academic calendar.
Oh gosh, okay.
Colleagues are trying to field them all, but I think there are enough of them that we should just hit this one head on. So a primary question is, what's up with the academic calendar for next year?
Okay.
And specifically, could you talk a little bit about the delayed start with fall semester starting in October and why that is?
Okay.
What's happening with winter term is another popular question.
Yeah.
And I think just general comments about your predictions. Are we going to be 2 semesters or 3 semesters? How does it all look?
Okay, so let's talk about why we're starting, when we're starting. So remember that Oberlin did something pretty unique in response to COVID. And this is literally true. We rebuilt the college from the ground up in 2 months. And here's how we did that. We decided to go from a 2-semester model to a 3-semester model. Why did we do that? We did that because we wanted to ensure that every student who wanted to could have an in-person on-campus experience, right? And so unlike other colleges that decided to send, all their juniors and seniors remote and all their sophomores and juniors remote and only have first years and seniors on, we didn't do that. We created a 3-semester model so that every student can be here at least 2 semesters in person in single rooms, right? And so because of that, we have a 3rd term for the first time in the history of Oberlin. We have a 3rd term happening this summer. And that term doesn't end until the end of August, right? And so that's the reason why we need that sort of September period so we can start class in October, a little bit delayed than we normally would. We would have started at the very end of August and September because we have these 3 terms. My expectation is that we'll be back to the 2-semester model. And that's in large part because of the vaccine rollout, what I'm expecting to happen on our campus around vaccines. So some of you probably know we've had a vaccine clinic on our campus for the last 4 or 5 days. When we surveyed our students, 95% of our students said they would be getting the vaccine, about 90% of our faculty. So we really believe that we'll have that additional protection around the other things that we might do. And so that's the reason why we're starting a little bit later. But remember that we always had winter term here. We still believe that that will happen sort of in after January a little bit. And then we'll start in February. Like we typically do, and end in very early June. So that's kind of how the academic calendar will look. And I think that the only thing that'll be a little bit different this year is kind of when exams fall, right? They'll be after the holidays in ways that we don't typically have. But that's a function of this year. And I think that we'll get back to normal over the coming years. But that's how the academic calendar looks. And I think that you will be in orientation earlier than that, right? So even though classes will start in October, you'll be doing orientation earlier. It'll be a combination of both some virtual orientation and on-campus orientation. And let me just say something about that. The reason why we did that is because we I think, unlike a lot of institutions, frankly, have emerged from COVID stronger. As crazy as that sounds. We have emerged from it stronger financially. We've emerged from it stronger in our programs and initiatives. And we learned some things from COVID. I've been jokingly calling it COVID learning. And one of the things that was really cool about some of the virtual orientation that we did is that students over those couple of weeks kind of showed up to campus knowing each other in ways that they never would have if the only orientation was the first 2 or 3 days before classes started. And so we decided that that's a keeper. And so you will be getting to know your colleagues through all sorts of virtual opportunities. So by the time you show up to campus in late September, you will already know friends and colleagues and have relationships that will be built in this virtual space, but will come to fruition in the real way when you get on campus. And there's a series of COVID learnings that we will keep for next year. So.
Thank you. Next question is about finances. There are several questions out there that are essentially all asking, how is our financial health? People are reading up on how higher ed is across the board struggling with finances in this particular moment. How is Oberlin doing?
Well, as I said, for us, we've just emerged stronger from this, financial challenge. And I would say financial challenge, not so much for Oberlin, but for higher education, right? So, and let's just be really blunt about that framework. So higher education has been marching towards this challenge for years. And all COVID did for a lot of entities and organizations, not just higher education, kind of solidified those challenges, right? And some of them are things that you all know, people questioning the value of liberal arts colleges, people questioning cost, all of those things that make families sort of concerned about affordability and those things that you may be talking about around your kitchen table. Here's what's happened for Oberlin. We've been able to weather this storm in part because we have a robust endowment. Some of you probably know that Oberlin reached $1 billion in its endowment in the last sort of couple of months. We had a banner year in terms of people choosing to return to campus. And because of that 3-semester model, we didn't have the type of significant enrollment drop-offs that a lot of institutions had. And then some of you probably have seen, if you haven't had a chance to check out the Sway interview that I did in the New York Times, we had a lot of national attention for the innovative ways that we responded to COVID. And it's meant that we've had just a robust sort of a rejuvenation that was already underway at Oberlin, but certainly manifested itself through COVID-19. So we're feeling particularly confident. You all probably know that this has been a rigorous year to get into Oberlin, right? We had the highest number of applications in the history of the institution. So kudos to you for making it through that difficulty. And so we are a sought after institution that's financially strong. And that is raring to have you back on campus in a full and complete way so that we can have all the wonderful experiences, that in-person experience that we know you want to have on campus next year.
Awesome. So Oberlin has a certain reputation about music loving. You may have heard this. What if I'm a student who not only am I not interested in the conservatory, but I'm just not all that interested in music? Will I still be happy? Will I be the outcast, or will I still have a good experience here?
Well, first of all, we're going to help you love music. No, Oberlin is such a diverse place, and we have literally hundreds of student organizations. We have all sorts of activities for students to be involved in and engaged in, and one of the things I hear Oberlin students say a lot when they get here is that I found my tribe, I found my people. And so you will find your people. So you may be a person who's into computer science and into esports, and you'll find, so some students came over to my house pre-COVID to do a Smash Bros competition, right? Because that's what they were into. You might get in an exco, and that's an experimental college, and students who are interested in whatever it is that you might find interesting. So There were a group of students who were totally into J.R. Tolkien and did a whole course on that. And they came over to the residence to watch, Lord of the Rings, one of the Lord of the Rings. You have students who are totally committed to environmental issues, and they're engaged in all sorts of interesting research. Our big project to be carbon neutral by 2025 means that we're going to convert the entire campus over the next 4 years from steam to hot water. And that was in large part because our students had been advocating for carbon neutrality as a goal on a huge committee that talked about how we might get there. We're going to be using geothermal wells on campus. So there'll be hundreds of geothermal wells, not wells like this, but tube geothermal wells. If you're interested in it at Oberlin, you'll either find someone who's interested in it too, or you start it yourself, and then you'll gather people who are interested in it. So you won't want for experiences. And if music's not your thing, you'll find your thing here at Oberlin, and you'll find some like-minded people who agree with you.
Thanks so much. Let's stay on that thread for a minute and go to another one of our very popular things, athletics. Could you talk a little bit about how athletics integrates into the culture on campus?
Wow. So yo-yo is what we say when we talk about athletics on campus. So, about 15% of our students are student athletes. It's a huge part of our population. And it's a huge part of the experience here. And I would say it integrates in a couple of ways. First, you have kind of the sort of hardcore student athletes who are out in Division III doing that incredible work on the court, field, pool. And they are a large part of the kind of the school spirit and the commitment to health and wellness on campus. The second part of it are the intramural and the sort of folks who are doing it not quite at the Division III level, but some of you probably know that our praying manti, our Division III Frisbee team, won the national championship, and they're not a Division III, sport. They're sort of a club sport. But those women a couple of years ago, in fact, I'm looking at the medal that they gave me, a sort of honorary team member. And then you have the health and wellness piece, and that's our Yo Fit work. And we have a new facility on campus that's since my time here at Oberlin, that is a great facility for the campus to get together for Yo Fit classes. And so I would say all those pieces come together to think about athletics on campus. But I would say that, remember, at Oberlin, this is not just athletics, it's mind, body, and spirit. A collective approach to the wellness experience. And you'll see that reflected in yoga classes and in spin classes and in swimming, as well as those students who are out there doing it in the Division III framework. I was just this past weekend at a baseball game on campus, and I walked over and went to the track and field event. It's a huge part of the experience here. And we love our student athletes like we love all of our students, but they are Obies through and through, in terms of their commitment to their academic experience and their commitment to the rigor that is Oberlin, even as they do this extra piece. And I guess the other thing I would say about it is that there's a lot of kindred spirits between the athletes and the conservatory, because this commitment to your craft and practicing your craft and performance, actually that connection is pretty interesting and deep. And so we have a program that we call Sharing Stages, essentially, in which the conservatory students and the athletes get together on stage. So it's an important part of who we are at Oberlin.
Great. Next question. How is Oberlin addressing structural racism within the college? What are the current challenges?
Yeah. So I would tell you, first of all, that this is a longer discussion than we have here. So I would ask you to go to the Presidential Initiative on Race and Equity and just spend some time on that website, because I think you'll see my statement about the George Floyd murder and what we have done in response. But let's back up a little bit and just remember that Oberlin has had this historic commitment to race and equity and diversity that begins from our founding, right? And so you can just walk through and see our commitment to those issues over the course of our history. So I don't want to brush through 187 years of history to the presidential initiative, but I'll ask you to just do a little research there so you can get engaged. In terms of the presidential initiative, so we have a commission that's up and running that is destined to provide a series of recommendations to me in June about how we can think about race and equity and diversity on our campus in even more profound ways, even though I would say that we do well already in terms of the diversity of our student body and the diversity of our faculty, but we can always do better. I'm expecting that out of those recommendations will come a Center for Race and Equity. I think some more recommendations around faculty diversity, staff diversity, student diversity. We are in the midst of doing a series of longitudinal climate surveys. So Oberlin is one of the founding members of this organization called LaCrella. It's a series of about 70 liberal arts colleges who have gotten together to think in clear-eyed ways about this issue. And our view was, Oberlin's view of being one of the 6 colleges to found this group, was that we could have a stronger voice on these issues if we were more collective in that voice. And that there was something for us to learn across the small private sector, and that Oberlin should be a leader in that regard. And so these climate surveys will be happening across all of those campuses. Oberlin's just launched in early March. We'll probably finish up in a week or so. We'll do students this year, we'll do staff next year, we'll do faculty the year after, and then we'll continue that longitudinal study. And we'll have some quantitative data to go with our qualitative work. So more to say about that, but I think that I'll just say to this group that it's been an important part of how I've defined my own career personally, this commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I think we have a role to play, yes, here at Oberlin, but honestly about how we send our students out into the world. So one of the other things I expect to come out of the commission's recommendation is how we more effectively prepare our students for their life after Oberlin in this particular sphere. Because I believe if we can do that well, then we can send you out into the world to make a difference on these issues because you're well prepared here.
That's a great segue into the next question, which is, what is Oberlin doing to help ensure that students will thrive and succeed on campus and off after graduation?
Gosh, there's so many things to say here. So it is one of the things that I think is most important about my time here at Oberlin, which is how can we ensure that there's a connective tissue between your academic experience and your experience outside the classroom that prepares you for your life after Oberlin. In fact, if we were in person, I can't imagine that I wouldn't be saying to you, I want you to start thinking about your life after Oberlin right now. So one of the things that you should know, I don't want to scare the parents, but let's just be honest about it, that all the data and research says that you will change industries and careers at least 7 times over your time of your career. So long gone are the days where you're in one industry. So you will need to be prepared for not just disciplinary expertise from your major after the first year, but how do you have the adaptability and the rigor to be able to change from career to industry over the course of your lifespan. And so part of the way we're doing that is to build these career communities, to find ways to fund internships for students. So here's how we did it during COVID, because it's so important to us. We created for our juniors who are off campus and now our sophomores who are off campus for a period of time, even though they were in the 2-semester model, right? There was 1 semester that they weren't on campus. And we didn't want to leave them just idly there. And so we created this junior practicum in which students had a series of workshops, 50 different types of speakers. So a huge number of workshops to prepare them for their life after Oberlin, along with many virtual internships with Oberlin alums. And we did that for all the juniors who wanted to do it, 400 plus juniors, along with research projects and opportunities to work with faculty. because we know that you need to be prepared for your life after Oberlin, and we wanted to give you an advantage, and we didn't want our juniors to not have that, even though we were in this COVID space. The way that gets translated into a non-COVID world is through career communities. And so we created this series of career communities, along with those integrated concentrations that I talked about that have courses along with an embedded internship, connecting you with people in your field and industry. Along with things like Obies for people who are connected to the entertainment space, and all these ways to try to get that practical experience. Because we know that this is just important in your ability to be able to launch out effectively. So if you look at our data, our 2019 graduates, it's something like 95% of them are either in employment after their first year or in graduate school or other education, right? And so there was a small percentage of them that were in volunteer jobs, 3% in fellowships, and this small 5% that weren't employed. So we believe in launching you out into the world and that you're ready for it when you leave here, that you're not wondering, that you're not questioning it, that you're not, that you're ready for it. And I say to students all the time that you will absolutely have opportunities. So there's no doubt in my mind that you will have opportunities when you leave Oberlin. The real question is, will you be prepared for that opportunity when you meet it, right? Because that's what success is. It's opportunity and preparedness meeting up, right? And so what we offer is, we know the opportunities are going to be there. You graduated from Oberlin, people know Oberlin. When they see Oberlin on that resume, they know what they're getting. Our job and your job together with our faculty and staff is to make sure you're prepared for it. And that's what the in-classroom experience is, that rigor and all the things I talked about there. And it's the connective tissue of what's happening outside the classroom that gets you there. And that study abroad, undergraduate research, internships, student organizations, leadership, all those pieces come together to make you ready when that opportunity shows up.
Awesome. President Ambar, what is your vision for the future of Oberlin? What areas of improvement would you focus on specifically?
Yeah. So a series of things. So, one of the things that we've been talking about a lot is One Oberlin. And so some of you may have heard of that document. That's a document that kind of launches Oberlin to its next phase. It has several aspects to it, but on the academic side, it really is about new academic programs that are in different areas. And so we are thinking about what it might mean to have like 5-year graduate programs and certificate programs and all those things in areas where we have some historic strengths, but also areas where we don't necessarily have historic strengths. So you heard me talk about integrated concentrations. Those are those kind of minors, 5 courses with this internship. So we have new ones in business and global public health and journalism. So you're going to see a series of new academic programs around areas that I would say have an impact in the world, that have an impact in shaping the world. So that's the first big piece that I would say. The second big piece that I think is important is what I've been calling that connective tissue piece, what I call the sort of value pieces that sit outside the academic programs. And so that's all the work that we're doing around career communities, study abroad, undergraduate research. So it's you learn by doing, you learn by engaging. You learn by testing yourself. And our view of the world is that that engagement and testing and doing happens while you're here. Like, we don't want you to be doing for the first time when you leave here. We want you to do now in an environment that can support you. And so a lot of the pieces that you'll see new here at Oberlin are ways to test you, ways to get you out in the world. So one of the first things I said when I showed up to Oberlin to our students is turn your gaze outward, right? Turn your gaze outward. The issues that you want to work on in the world are right here, not just in Oberlin and Lorain, but in Cleveland and Columbus and all over Ohio. And so one of the reasons why we send in the world where there's not COVID, all of our first year class all together on 50 buses into Cleveland to talk to organizations there, is because we want you to see the spectrum of opportunities that you can be engaged in around this region, and that you can start doing that work. So that's the second big piece that I would say. I think the third big piece that I find really interesting is what I would call the kind of COVID learning that's happened over the course of this year. Things like the fact that we essentially created our own digital production company in the conservatory, broke down our ensembles to 50 or so ensembles, and had our students recording their work and interviewing composers and sending that work out into the world, really all over the world. Because we created these real-time studios where there's no latency like there is here in Zoom, where you have to wait and have time for me to speak. So someone could be playing a viola and playing the piano in two different rooms and you could play music together. That's the type of innovative thing that's happening at Oberlin, and I think you'll see more of over the course of our time here. So it's all of those pieces that I think come together as we build this sort of new world that is post-COVID in higher education. And I would say that the final piece is really the work around diversity and equity and inclusion. So I believe that the institutions that get this right over the next 5 or 6 years will be the most sought after institutions in the country. And Oberlin has always been a leader in this regard. We are a bellwether institution. So goes Oberlin, so goes higher education. And so the work that we'll be doing around diversity and inclusion that'll spring from the presidential initiative is also sort of the fourth big piece of how I think about what Oberlin's future will look like. And I have to say that I'm 3.5 years in, and I'm just as excited as I was when I got the phone call. And it's because I know what Oberlin means historically, and I know how important we are to higher education and really to the world. But I also know what our expectations are about what we will do in the world. And that's both institutionally and our students who graduate.
Let's go briefly to an easy topic, COVID.
Well, you know things are funny when COVID's gotten easy.
So I'm going to lump a couple together here. The first is, do you foresee vaccinations being required at any point? And as a follow-up, if not, do you foresee testing and or mask wearing for unvaccinated folks as being a requirement?
Yeah, you know, so it's hard to know. And the reason why I kind of punt a little bit is because, so here's how we made decisions. We have put health and safety first. That has been our primary goal, health and safety. Then we let the data drive our decision-making. And that data is data that's about what's happening on our campus, what's happening in our region, what's happening nationally. We are strong partners with the Lorain County Public Health Department here, and our decisions are based on that. So part of the reason why I can't tell you all the answers to that is because I don't know what the data is going to tell us. Here's what I think is true about vaccinations. Right now, we haven't required vaccinations. We will be reevaluating that over the course of the next couple of months. I'm not as concerned about it because of how our community has operated and how many of our students not only said they would get the vaccine, but got it well before we had vaccinations on campus. And so we will know, because we will require at a minimum to everyone tell us their status, right? Did you get the vaccine? Did you not? Upload your information. So we'll at a minimum have a baseline for our campus. And that will give us a better sense about what we can expect on campus in terms of our ability to, for lack of a better term, create kind of herd immunity on our campus. What may happen, not my preference, but what may happen is if you are not vaccinated, that there may be some things you won't be able to do, which is one of the reasons why I strongly encourage you to get vaccines if you don't have some exception that was the type of exception that you might have used for the flu or some other vaccination process. So don't have a complete answer for how we're going to handle it, but just so you know the principles, health and safety first. What does the data tell us about what's happening on our campus? And then that helps us make informed decisions about how to go forward.
Thank you. We have several questions about mental health. They're all relatively similar, so I'm just going to pick one. We live in extremely challenging times with tremendous opportunity to make substantive, lasting, and positive changes while in legitimate peril to our collective health and well-being. How do you and Oberlin ensure that our kids will not only thrive academically to succeed in the world ahead, but literally survive despite the enhanced physical, mental, and emotional threats to be a meaningful part of the future?
Yeah. So it's certainly a challenge for all college campuses and really for the world, right? I mean, this is not an Oberlin challenge. This is a world challenge about how we stay intact as human beings in this world that can be overwhelming, right? And sometimes unkind. And so on our campus, I think there are a series of support resources that are kind of the first thing I would point to. We certainly have a series of mental health services and counselors and people who can support students in crisis, right? We certainly have a set of advisors, right, that help students through personal and academic issues. And we have a system that we call a share system, which allows us, I would describe it as trying to kind of catch a student in a net, right? Students that may be having a challenge, and whether that's a coach or a studio faculty member or an advisor, a staff member that kind of can catch Carmen, right? Hey, Carmen hasn't been to class in a couple of days, and it doesn't seem like she's been in the dining hall. Someone go and check on her, right? And so the resident advisor might go and knock on your door. And so we really take seriously this idea of trying to capture you in this net of support. We just are in sort of the third year of our JED Foundation a fellowship, which is a series of programs and initiatives to support mental health on campus, and also a set of surveys that allow us to track our progress over time. And so we'll be able to see how we're faring on mental health issues. And then the other thing I would point to that's not a resource that I could name, but just I think an important thing to say, this community of care that I've sort of mentioned in passing, that's a real thing here. In terms of colleagues, your colleagues who are other students with you, your faculty and staff who care about your well-being and who are going to check up on you and make sure you're okay, and who are going to encourage you to get some rest and to have a decent lunch and to go to the yoga class and to ask for help when you need it, right? And in the most sort of acute cases, maybe take a break. And knowing that in that taking of the break, you can come back stronger and better able to have the experience that you want to have here. And so we have been committed to the types of resources that allow us to do that, so that we can have students be caught up in this net that we call of care here. But just know that we know it's a challenge for not just the world, but Oberlin too. And we've tried to put the right resources together to help students manage through. As I said to you in my opening comments, tough things happen while you're in college. They just do. And what you really need is, yes, an institution that has the resources to support you, but someone who's going to care enough about it to check on you. And someone who's going to know your name enough to say, hey, Carmen, this doesn't seem like it's quite working. What can I do to be helpful? And I don't know about you, but when I am feeling out of sorts, I want somebody who knows me and cares about me and wants the best for me and is willing to intervene to ensure that the best happens for me.
Great. I know we're nearing the end of our time here. Do you have time for two more?
Sure.
All right. Thanks, President Ambar. We appreciate it. First one is, in your opinion, how does Oberlin transform students? And based on your experience, what kinds of experiences do our students find the most transformative?
Oh gosh, in some ways that's a little hard because I think it's different for every student. I would say that the students who I think get the most out of Oberlin, first of all, think about it, right? And let me tell you how we help you do that, right? So you're going to get, in your first year seminar, you're going to get that PAL, right? That peer leader that's going to help you kind of navigate that first semester. And that means if they need to almost, hand walking you over to, you say you're interested in these types of student organizations, let me take you to the student fair and connect you with those folks. You say you're interested in doing this type of winter term project. We've transferred a lot of our winter term projects to group projects because we want you to have this group experience. And so we have a series of those. I would say that the students who have the most transformative experience try to string all of those engaged pieces together with their academic experience. So what I mean by that is study abroad, undergraduate research, student organizations, making sure that they connect with, different types of academic experiences that may be eclectic, but that go together in your view of the world, along with thinking about their academic coursework, right? And so I would say trying to put practice into the academic experience are the students that have the most substantive experience here at Oberlin. I would say as you continue up the ranks, so you have that first year seminar, the PAL, then you're going to do SOAR. So that's our sophomore opportunities. And that is a sort of huge program that allows you to kind of plan out your next 2 semesters and to start to take advantage of all that is Oberlin. And so you get a full kind of workshop and a couple of week experience where someone says, okay, how does your academic coursework work with your volunteer work with your decision to do undergraduate research, work with your e-portfolio if you're doing that, work with your student organizations. What's your narrative? And it's a plan that's not rigid, right? But it's a plan that helps you think about how to evaluate new opportunities. Does this fit within my plan? If it does, great. If it doesn't fit with my plan, then might I want to do it anyway, and why? Are the goals that I've set for myself really the ones that I think are important anymore? And so SOAR is a big part of that. And then remember, in your junior year, you're connecting to career communities, right? And then you're off to senior year and you do our senior launch program, which is sort of launching you out. So the way to get the most out of Oberlin is to just think about it a little bit. It's not you have to have the whole thing planned out. You're going to have advisors. You're going to have people who help you in your major. You're going to be able to do special programs. If you're working in environmental studies or creative writing or whatever it is, right? Or math or, choose your topic. You're going to have special opportunities there. But spending a little time putting together the other opportunities on campus that can enhance that academic experience are the ways that I would say Obies are transformed, but also for you to get the most out of the experience. I will tell you that one of the things, so I have open office hours, students drop by my office, literally talk about anything. I'm saying literally talk about anything. From law school to I just want to get your views on working out or whatever it is. And, but the most difficult conversations that I have in my office hours. So I'm just going to tell the prospective students right now, this can't be you. It is this senior who is a second semester senior right about now. They came to see me probably in March, most of them. And they come in my office and they are nervous about life after Oberlin. And they start to talk to me about their areas of interest. And you can tell that they did not take full advantage of Oberlin. Like they didn't get involved in student organizations. They skipped study abroad. They weren't interested in excos. They decided that they didn't want to go into the conservatory, concerts. Like you could just tell that they were sort of narrow. And the challenge with second semester senior year with that conversation with me is that I can't do much about it then, right? And so, this is about taking as big a bite out of the apple as you possibly can. And it's not that you got to do it all at once. So don't show up, your first semester and do 50 things. But it is to say that this is an opportunity to explore, right? This is an opportunity to do things you might not otherwise do. This is an opportunity to discover talents that you may not know you had. So try out for that play, right? What's the harm? Go to that athletic event and hang out with the student athletes, even though you're not an athlete. Go and think about environmental issues, even though that's not your thing, right? Volunteer, tutor in our program in the Oberlin schools. I mean, there's just, the opportunities are so vast. And if you decide to do all the things that you've always done, you will miss out on what it is to be at a place like Oberlin that has such vast opportunities because of the distinctive way we've built ourselves with this arts and sciences and this conservatory right here on this campus. And what it means to be in the Midwest and take advantage of this area of the country. That's the sad conversation with the seniors. I'm telling you right now, you don't have to do that. It's very few seniors that come in that way, but you don't have to have that happen for you because you already know that that's not what you should do, right? Because I just told you. So come in with the kind of air of, I'm kind of willing to try anything, right? That I'm open to anything. And if you have that kind of air of openness and a desire to do things that you haven't done before, you will come out of Oberlin like most Obies do, saying that this is the most transformative experience of your life. And the reason why I know that to be true is because I talked to Obies that graduated 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. And what is so incredible to me is that, you know, when you graduated 50 years ago, I mean, college was a while ago, let's just be honest. A lot of things have happened between graduating from college and 50 years afterwards. And yet they will still go back to these 4 years of all the years that they've experienced since then and describe these 4 years as some of the most transformative of their entire life. And I chalk that up to people who took full advantage of this place. And if you will do that, then you will be able to say, just like them, the most transformative years of my life.
Thank you, President Ambar. This last question actually was the first question to come in tonight, but I saved it for last because it's fun.
Okay.
What's a question you wish you were asked more often about Oberlin?
Gosh, it's hard to know what's a question I wish I was asked more often about Oberlin. You know, I think that people sort of ask me this, but it is, you know, how would you describe, you know, the kind of fun of Oberlin? Like what, you know, what is fun at Oberlin, right? Because I think sometimes people think of Obies because there's a seriousness of purpose around students who choose Oberlin, right? They are thinking about the world a little bit differently. And sometimes people don't think we have fun here and think that we're nothing but serious, right? And, you know, but if you go and go to the piano stomp, right, there's nothing more fun than that. Or if you head down to the SCO and see our students hanging out, or if you are listening to our students on WOBC do disco night, you know, our student body is really a lot of fun. And I think people sometimes miss that a little bit because of the seriousness of purpose here. But it's not without levity. And it's not without an ability to laugh at ourselves and make jokes at our own expense. And it's not without a spirit of enthusiasm. It's certainly not without a love for institution. And so just know that, yes, it's rigorous and all the things that I talked about why I chose Oberlin. But it's also a cool, fun place to be. And with people who know how to have a good time in the right way, right? And who know what it means to hang out and laugh and enjoy each other. and have good company and have some great food, and just enjoy being together and caring about each other along the way. And so I wish people, I guess I would change the question a bit, not so much what I wish they would ask me, but what I wish people knew more or understood more about what it means to be an Obie. And yes, it's rigor and it's commitment to the world being better. But it's also flat out fun too. And that's one of the reasons to come to Oberlin.
Thank you so much, President Ambar. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you all.
Awesome answer.
Good luck in the process, and I'm expecting to see you in the fall. So there it is.
Thank you, all of our attendees, for attending. We're so glad that you came tonight, and we do very much hope to see you in the fall. Please email us with any questions that remain after this session. And thank you to all of our colleagues in admissions in the background for answering questions for us too. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.